Page 613. Examples worked out. Once a little mouse, while playing, ran across a sleeping lion's face. The lion awoke in anger and caught the mouse in his paw. The mouse begged for pardon. It said, "I am very sorry. Please pardon and spare my life. One day perhaps I may help you." The lion laughed, but pardoned the mouse. So the mouse thanked him and ran away in joy. One day after this, the lion was caught in a net by some hunters. He roared loudly in rage. The mouse heard the roar and went to the lion. The lion was strong but could not break the net. The mouse first cut one rope and then another, and soon the lion was free. Poesy for this. Title: The Lion and the Mouse. Once a mouse disturbed a lion in his sleep. The lion caught the mouse and was going to kill it, but it begged for pardon and was let go. Shortly after, the lion was caught in a strong net. Hearing his roar, the mouse came there and cut the ropes with its teeth. The lion became free. Second, General Washington, President of the United States of America, had a friend who had fought with him in the war against British and was almost his daily companion. A lucrative office in the gift of the President, changing to fall vacant, many thought that this gentleman would have no difficulty in obtaining it. Another candidate for the post appeared. He was a political opponent of Washington, but a man of decided honesty and of great talents for business. Everyone considered the case of the second man hopeless, but to the surprise of all, the opponent of Washington was appointed to the office. Précis for this paragraph. Title: The Impartiality of George Washington. Once, a very profitable post at the disposal of President Washington of the United States of America fell vacant. There were two candidates. One was a very intimate and old friend of the President, while the other was a political opponent but honest and possessed great talents for business. The honest and impartial Washington gave the post to the latter. Third paragraph. Man is the architect of his own fate. If he makes a proper division of his time and does his duties accordingly, he is sure to improve and prosper in life. But if he does otherwise, he is sure to repent when it is too late, and he will have to drag a miserable existence from day to day. To kill time is as culpable as to commit suicide. For our life is nothing but the sum total of hours, days, and years. Youth is the seed time of life. In youth, the mind is pliable and soft and can be molded in any form we like. If we lose the morning hours of life, we shall have to repent afterwards. Précis. Title: The Right Use of Time. The fate of a man depends on his own self. If he makes the right use of time, he will succeed in life. Otherwise, he will fail and suffer miseries. Indeed, life is made up of moments, and to waste these moments is to waste the whole life. The habit of making this right use of time should be formed in youth, when the mind is soft and tender. Fourth paragraph. Page 614. Like every other instrument that man has invented, sports can be used either for good or evil purposes. Used well, it can teach endurance and courage, a sense of fair play and a respect for rules, coordinated effort and the subordination of personal interests to other of the group. Used badly, it can encourage personal vanity and those of the group vanity, greedy desire for victory and hatred for rivals. In either case, sports tech responsible corporation. Sports teach responsible cooperation. But when it is used badly, the cooperation is for undesirable ends, and the result upon the individual character is an increase of attachment. When it is used well, the character is modified in the direction of non-attachment. Sports can be either a preparation for war or, in some measure, a substitute for war, a trainer of potential warmonger or of potential peace lovers. Précis. Title: Good and Bad Effects of Sports. Like other sports can have two opposite influences. Used properly, it teaches one endurance, courage, sportsmanship, team spirit, and subordination of self-interest. Used improperly, it can develop personal and group pride, greed for success, and hatred for rivals. So, sports can train one to be either a warmonger or a peace lover. Paragraph 5. It is much better to give hope and strength and courage than money. The best help is not to bear the troubles of others for them, but to inspire them with courage and energy to bear with their own burden for themselves and meet the difficulties of life bravely. So we must be careful not to destroy independence in our anxiety to relieve distress. There is always the danger lest whatever is done for men should make them more dependent instead of more independent. It is important, therefore, not so much to give a man bread as to put him in the way of earning it for himself, not to give direct aid, but to help others to help. Précis. Title: The Best Way of Helping Others. It requires wise judgment to help others properly. Direct help kills the spirit of self-help and so does great harm to people. If instead we inspire them with hope and courage, it will strengthen their mind and enable them to bear their burden themselves. Indeed, self-help is the best help, and we should inspire this spirit of self-help in persons distressed. Page 615. Paragraph 6. Try to be brave and firm, fearing God and fearful of none. In every action in which you take part, and in all you say, let only this thought be in your mind: is what I am doing or saying right? And if your conscience says yes, then do or say that thing persistently, fearlessly of all opposition. Some of your companions may be against you. You may sometimes lose the favors of men, but never mind. Persevere and be brave, for God is on your side. You need not care what the world thinks of you, so long as you know that your purpose is honest. Précis. Title: Fear God and nothing else. We should be guided by conscience in whatever we do. Some of our friends may oppose us, but if our conscience approves our action, we should do it fearlessly. This may sometimes cost us the favor of men, but God will be on our side. Paragraph 7. A king who was feeble and ill because of idleness asked for medicine from a doctor. The doctor was wiser than the king and knew that it was not medicine but physical exercise that he needed. The doctor therefore brought the king 2 heavy clubs of strange kind of wood and told him that those clubs held the medicine for his cure. He asked the king to grasp them by hands and swing them about till his hands become moist from the exercise. The moisture, the doctor said, would make the medicine act. He obeyed the doctor, and each day he was seen in the open air at certain hours, working manfully with his magic clubs. His muscles grew strong, his health improved, and he greatly praised the medicine of the clubs and the wisdom of the doctor. Précis. Title: The King and the Wise Doctor. A king became ill because of his idleness. He called in a doctor and asked for medicine. Realizing everything, the doctor gave the king 2 heavy clubs and advised him to swing them till he perspired. The king obeyed the doctor and took regular exercise. His health showed signs of improvement. He then praised the doctor for the prescribed medicine. Paragraph 8. Every man, be he rich or poor, is fond of building castle in the air. The poor man dreams of prosperity, the rich man of increasing wealth, nor need we wonder at this, for all men are forever under the magic spell of hope. As the poet has written, hope springs eternal in the human breast. In youth it blooms like a flower, delicate and fragrant, shedding over the golden years of childhood the sweetness of its perfume. To the old it offers strength in hours of weariness, but air is an unstable element. Castles in the air are worse than houses built on sand. They are frail structures, more delicate than a spider's web. Précis. Title: Hope springs eternal in the human breast. Hope sustains and inspires every man, young and old, rich or poor. Under its influence, children dream of a bright future, poor men dream of prosperity, and even the rich dream of greater wealth. But these dreams are often as unreal as castles in the air that disappear more quickly than houses built on sand. Paragraph 9. Nowadays may educate youths of the middle class in our country are out of employment for want of service. The principal reason for his unemployment problem is the fact that the number of educated men is gradually increasing, and yet all the educated men hanker after service. Many are incapable of physical labor necessary for agriculture and industrial work because they are not used to it. Many again, having some prejudice, are unwilling to do such work. And what is more humiliating than idleness? In fact, if this false idea of social honor is not rejected, and a conviction of the dignity of labor is not established, there can be no real solution of the unemployment problem. There is indeed no humiliation in any work whatsoever. Humiliation lies in idleness and hanging on others. Labor has always the dignity. If a man works in the field, sows the seeds and reaps the harvest, he will command everybody's respect. Précis. Title: Unemployment Problem of the Educated Youths. The problem of educated unemployment is chiefly caused by the ever-increasing number of the educated youths. They are mostly averse to manual labor. Service and not the physical labor required in agriculture or industrial work is their first preference. Having no respect for the dignity of labor, they think that doing manual work is below their dignity. Paragraph 10. Great in battle, Sher Shah was perhaps greater in administration. His civil, criminal and fiscal administration speaks volume for the genius of this soldier, statesman and administrator. Time has shown that the monarchs who succeeded him either adopted his physical system in letter and spirit or modified it in accordance with new requirements. It was Sher Shah who gave India her first currency and postal system through dark horses. His love for India and the language of the country can be proved by the fact that he was perhaps the first Muslim monarch to have his coins struck in Hindi and in Devanagari script, a thing unheard of even during the more tolerant days of Akbar. The several thousand miles of road he built earn the gratitude of tourists even today. More than 1,700 tourist houses every 4 miles on these roads, for both Hindus and Muslims, were real lesson in providing tourist amenities. Précis. Title: Greatness of Sher Shah. Sher Shah was a great administrator. His civil, criminal and fiscal measures were followed either in full or in slightly changed form by the kings who came after. He was the first to introduce currency and postal system in India through dark horses. His spirit of tolerance is shown by the fact that he struck coins in Hindi and in Devanagari script. His greatness as a builder and planner is proved by several thousand miles of roads that he built with rest houses for both Hindus and Muslims every 4 miles. Paragraph 11. Only a few years back there was a great war. Most of the countries of the world were in it, and every one of them was trying to kill as many people as possible on the other side. The Englishmen were trying to kill the Germans, and the Germans were killing the Englishmen. Millions of people were killed in the war, and many thousands were maimed for whole life. Some have no eyes left and were blinded, others have no arms or legs. Do you think it is very civilized and sensible to kill each other like this? If two men start fighting in streets and policemen separate them and everybody thinks how silly they are, but how much sillier and more foolish it is for great countries to start a fight and then to kill thousands. It is just two savage fighting in the jungles. And if the savages are called barbarians, how much more barbarous are the countries that behave that way? Page 617. Pressy. Title: The Insanity of War. Very recently, almost all the countries of the world were busy killing thousands and disabling many for life. Fighting between two people is considered silly. The civilized nations' useless killing must also be considered more silly and barbarous than those who fight in the jungles. Page 617. 12. While wealth is a great factor for ensuring happiness of human life, it is easily liable to be employed by one set of people against others. Besides, wealth has a tendency to concentrate in the hands of a few, with the result that the rich become richer and the poor poorer. In the existing conditions of society, we find that these are classes of people who are miserable and unhappy, while there are others who are rich, well-fed and comfortable. Such differences in economic condition are mainly due to the wrong distribution of wealth in the society. In considering the welfare of the society, we must not refer to individual fortunes or conditions of life. By human welfare, we are to mean the greatest good of the greatest number. Pressy. Title: Proper use of wealth. Wealth is no doubt necessary for happiness in life, but it generally gets into the hands of a few only at the cost of the general body of men in society. The result is, the rich become richer and the poor poorer. This is certainly a misuse of wealth. It should be fairly distributed among all, so that it may bring happiness to the greatest number of people. Paragraph 13. The family, like the house in which we live, needs to be kept in repair. Lest some little rift in the walls should appear and let in the wind and rain. The happiness of a family depends very much on attention to little things. Order, pleasant comfort, regularity, cheerfulness, good taste, these are the ornaments of life, deprived of which it degenerates into a worrisome routine. There must be brightness and cheerful smiles in the dwelling. Home is not usually the place of toil, but the place to which we return and rest from our labors, in which parents and children meet together and pass a careless and joyful hour. To have nothing to say to others at such times, in any rank of life, is a very unfortunate temper of mind, and may perhaps be regarded as a serious fault. At any rate, it makes the house vacant and joyless. Pressy. Title: How to make your home lively. Home is the place for peace and rest at the end of the day's labor. But the happiness of a house depends upon little things such as order, regularity, cheerfulness, and pleasant conversation. Without these, the home becomes dull and cheerless. So, it will be unfortunate if a man has no pleasant word to say to others. It may ultimately spoil the happiness of the whole family. Paragraph 14. It is not good for man that his life should be all joy and prosperity. The lands which knows only sunshine and never rain become deserts. The most beautiful countries are those which are regularly visited by both sunshine and rain. It is in these lands that flowers and fruits grow and sweet birds sing. There is nothing more beautiful than a rainbow. If life is to be rounded and many colored like the rainbow, both joy and sorrow must come to it. Those who have never known anything but prosperity and pleasure become hard and shallow, but those whose prosperity has been mixed with adversity become kind and gracious. Précis. Title: A Perfect Life. Lands that know only sunshine become deserts, but beautiful are those that have both sunshine and rain regularly. Similarly, a perfect life, kind and sympathetic, is one that has known both joys and sorrows, whereas a life that has known joys only is hard and weak. Page 618. Paragraph 15. It is only the poor who really and truly feel for the poor. They alone know each other's sufferings and each other's need of sympathy and kindness. The charity of the rich is nothing compared with the charity of the poor. In seasons of sickness, of distress, the poor are each other's comforters and supporters to an extent that among better circles is never dreamt of. Contented to toil on from day to day for a sanctity sum, they are ready to spare when a brother is in want or distress. Nor is there wanting some friendly hand to smooth the pillow or do all those little kindly offices which make sickness and suffering tolerable. The women of the poorer classes are, in this respect, especially devoted and untiring. They make sacrifices and bear hardships and exercise patience and kindness to a degree that the world never knows of and would scarcely believe even if it did know. Précis. Title: Only the poor can really feel for the poor. Common suffering makes the poor people sincerely feel for one another. Though poor themselves, they readily come forward with whatever little they can spare to help a friend in need. The heartiness with which they do this and nurse the sick is much more valuable than the rich man's charity. The women among them are particularly remarkable for their kindness, patience, and sacrificing spirit. Paragraph 16. The man who is perpetually hesitating which of the two things he will do first will do neither. The man who revolves but suffers his resolution to be changed by the first counter suggestion of a friend, who fluctuates from opinion to opinion, from plan to plan, and veers like a weathercock to very point of compass, with every breath of caprice that blows, can never accomplish anything great or useful. It is only the man who first consults wisely, then resolves firmly, and then executes the purpose with inflexible perseverance, undismayed by those petty difficulties which daunt the weaker spirit, that can advance to any line. Take your course wisely but firmly, and having taken it, hold upon it with heroic resolution, and the Alps and the Himalayas will sink before you. Page 619. Title: Prompt action brings results. The man who always hesitates too much and changes his decision at counter suggestions cannot achieve anything. Success comes only at firm and wise decisions taken against all odds. Page 619, paragraph 17. Some people seem to imagine that the human mind is like a bottle and that when you have filled it with anything, you pour it out again and it becomes as empty as it was before. That is not the nature of the human mind. The boy who has been crammed has learned a good deal, and that learning has accomplished two objects. In the first place, the boy has exercised the faculties of his mind in becoming crammed, and in the next place, there remains in his mind a great portion of the knowledge so acquired. Depend upon it that the boy who is crammed successfully not only may succeed in the examination for which he is preparing, but is from that time forward more intellectual, better informed, and more disposed to push forward the knowledge which by that cramming he has acquired. Précis. Title: The Good Points of Cramming. Some people regard cramming as useless labor. They think that whatever is crammed is quite lost as soon as the examination is over. But this is a wrong idea. The mind cannot be emptied of its content like a bottle. By cramming, boys exercise their intellectual faculties and retain some of the knowledge thus acquired. In fact, cramming helps the boys not only to pass their examinations but also to gain further knowledge. Paragraph 18. As nations understand one another better, they come to like one another more, to treat and help one another more. Thus, wars become less and less frequent, and each country enjoys peace and is able to develop in the way that is best suited to its own characteristics. The arts and literature of one, the commerce and industry of other, the science and philosophy of a third, and all combine in the service of humanity, and the whole world is made better and happier. For just as we are taught to aim not at our own individual welfare, but at the welfare of the whole body of our countrymen, so we should also remember that each country has a duty to perform in the great work of the world. Let each of us try then to love his fellow man of whatever race he may be, and endeavor to learn as much as possible of the great world that lies beyond our own land. Précis. Title: How to make the world a better place to live in. If nations try to understand one another, they will surely come to like one another. Each will then profit by the good points in others, all international rivalry will disappear, and there will be peace and happiness in the world. Paragraph 19. Young people naturally seek the society of those of their own age. But be careful in choosing your companions, and lay down a rule to be strictly followed, that no youth, no man ought to be called your friend who is addicted to indecent talk or who is fond of low society. Either of these argues a depraved taste and even a depraved heart, an absence of all principle and trustworthiness, and I have remarked it all my life long that young men addicted to these vices never succeed in the end. Whatever advantage they may have, whether in fortune or in talent, fond mothers and fathers are but too apt to be over lenient to such offenders, and as long as youth lasts and fortune smiles, the punishment is deferred, but it comes at last. It is sure to come, and the gay and dissolute youth is a dejected and miserable man. Page 620. Précis. Title: Choice of Friends in Early Life. Young men with mean company and liking for vulgarities eventually develop low mentality without any principle or sense of decency. In spite of their fortune or talent, they can never achieve success in life. Lenient parental indulgence leads them to their ultimate doom. One should never befriend such young men. 20th. All through history there have been wars, yet mankind has survived, developed and become civilized in spite of them. But fortunately, as part of his development, man has learned to tap the hidden forces of our planet and use them for his purposes. Now, if his purposes are those of destruction, Each fresh advance in his mastery of nature only increases the danger from war. As men learn to destroy one another in every more varied and ingenious ways, man has now discovered how to release the forces locked up in the atom. In consequence, the leading nations of the world are now making atom bombs which would almost certainly be widely used. Nobody knows what the effect of dropping such bombs on a large scale would be, but it is quite possible that the total destruction of the world and its civilization might ensure. As somebody has jokingly remarked, in the next war men will fight with atom bombs, and in the war after that with bows and arrows. Précis. Title: The Horrors of a Future War. There have been wars all through history, yet man has progressed. But there has been a change in the situation. Man has now learned to use the forces of nature for his own purpose. The danger is, he may use this knowledge for destruction. Some great powers are making atom bombs, and they will certainly be used in a future war. This will result in the destruction of civilization and return of man to the primitive stage.